where's my list? Ah, there it is. Yes, yes. Ah, Fiona, right. Hello, Fiona. Is now a good time?
I'm not quite...
Well, I won't be long. I've been thinking about the community choir. We'll need to have an AGM fairly soon, won't we, whether it's live or via Zoom. So we ought to give some thought to the future and not just let things drift.
Look, I'm not quite sure that I... Look, I'm going to have to put you on loudspeaker because I do need to get these into the oven.
Now, I know you made a quite adequate job of stepping into the briefest chair when Marilyn had to give up, poor soul. But you do have a lot of commitments, don't you? With your family and the drama group and your tennis in the summer. So I do wonder whether now isn't the time for a change. After all, you're not exactly a born organiser, are you?
Well, I prefer to let individual committee members take responsibility.
Well, yes, that's one way of looking at it. But I do think the choir need a little more in the way of leadership. You see, I have time on my hands now. People begged me to carry on as chair of the village hall committee, but old Bill Edwards said, 3-year term means 3-year term. You know what an old stick in the mud he is. Oh, yes, I am booking secretary, but that's not a big commitment, particularly now, ha-ha. So I'd be quite happy to take the choir off your hands.
Petra, what are you saying? There's been no suggestion of a change of officers. I mean, I've only been in post for 18 months. And I love the choir. You know I do. So why are you trying to take it away from me? I don't want to give up as chair.
Well, no, Fiona. Of course you don't want to stand down. But several people have said to me that it's time for a change of direction. I couldn't possibly give you their names. They were speaking in confidence. I'm surprised you should ask. Now, I don't expect a decision right away, but you should consider your position. After all, we don't want a contested election, do we? That could be quite embarrassing for you.
Petra?
No, I must go now. Hubert's calling me. So just have a careful think about it, won't you, Fiona, dear? Hubert! Make me a coffee, will you?
It's the last frame of the semi-final. Ronnie O'Sullivan.
You can watch snooker any old time. I need my coffee now. Ugh, silly man.
Hello, Petra. It's Vivian here. Vivian the Vicar, yes, that's right. Now, I'm just calling to confirm our arrangements for Sunday. We have the hall booked from 9 until 11, don't we? Because our service is at 9:30. Oh, no, we'll be out by then. I have to be over at Pentalic by 11 anyway for their Eucharist. What's that? We can't have the hall at the concessionary rate. But I thought we had an agreement with the committee. Yes, but we only went into the reading room in the first place because numbers were down due to shielding. Now that the congregation's back up again. Yes, I was hoping the church restoration would have been finished by now, but the contractors were held up by COVID too. Very well, if we can't have it at the concessionary rate, we can't. We'll pay the full rate. Now, I understand that there are new keys. Someone said the locks on the hall doors had been changed. Very well. I'll ask Naomi to call and collect one from you this afternoon.
Naomi? Oh dear Vicar, you put me in an awkward position there. The whole reason we changed the locks was because half the village had access to a key and it just wasn't secure. The committee have made a strict rule that the key is only to be issued to the authorised hirer in person.
The authorised hirer is the parish church. Naomi, as verger, is the authorised officer of the church and as such is entitled to hold a key.
Is she an authorised officer? I thought it was just an informal arrangement you made, Naomi being your, friend. Appointed by the PCC. Oh, well, if they're prepared to indulge you, what can I say? Please instruct her to keep to the gravel path, ring the doorbell once, and I shall pass the key out on the end of a fishing rod. But if she loses it, I shall be holding you, Vicar, strictly responsible.
Obnoxious woman! Oh.
Hello, Danny Garrick. Oh, hello, Fiona. Didn't recognise your number. Do I know what Petra's doing now? Well, not being a mind reader, no, I don't. But judging from your tone of voice, it's well up to her usual standard. I shouldn't take any notice, Fiona. I can't imagine the choir want to change chair, least of all at the current juncture. Besides, Petra isn't in the least bit musical. She just wants something else that she can run. You remember when she was in the drama group? Oh, no, it was before you joined. Yeah, she was always going on at poor old Barry, saying that she wasn't getting big enough parts. In the end, she stood for chairman and she packed the AGM with all her supporters, people she'd bullied into joining, never been on the stage in their lives. Well, two can play at that game. And so I did. She was defeated, and the group has never seen her since. Not that she was any loss. Petra's dramatic talents would have been challenged as the legs of a pantomime cow, front or back.
That's all very well for you, Danny. You've got a ruthless streak. But I keep thinking, supposing she's right. Supposing the choir would be better off with a more, dynamic leader? I mean, I have to take things calmly. I can't manage any stress. After all, I know you got Barry re-elected as president, but Petra's had her knife into the drama group ever since, and you know the battles we've had with her on the hall committee.
Oh, I know. The difficulties we've had booking rehearsals and all that fuss about the scenery on the stage. I thought once she was no longer top dog, things would be easier, but no, she's just as obstructive as the booking secretary. You remember the technical rehearsal for Puss in Boots? Oh, she deliberately hired out the committee room that evening. The poor kids had to get dressed and made up in the toilets. And then they had to go backwards and forwards through the kitchen. Oh, Pam was in despair. No, ignore the wretched woman. She'll go too far one of these days, you mark my words.
Mr. Tresloggett, this is Petra Littleton. Now, this isn't a very easy conversation to have, but I think we can both agree that your tenancy of our caravan isn't really working out, is it? I've nothing against you personally, of course, but your dogs, running wild in the garden, barking at all hours, and not to mention the mess. No, I'm sorry, it isn't satisfactory. We did say 3 weeks' notice on either side, didn't we? So I'm afraid you must take this as notification of termination of tenancy, effective 3 weeks from today.
But But this is right out of the blue. I could never find a place that I could afford that was suitable in that time. Not with all this COVID about. I'd have to go back to Devon. I don't want to do that. Not now I'm settled down here. Dogs? Well, the dogs are locked up most of the time, except when they're in the orchard.
Not all the time. Only last week they rampaged through my calceolarius, and yesterday one of them had done his business on the front lawn. Postman thought it was funny. No, 3 weeks only. I must be firm. Hubert agrees with me. Don't you, Hubert? Yes, he's quite adamant. Face to face? Have you no concept of social distancing? No, I refuse to conduct this conversation bellowing across a garden. In fact, I shall end it now. You have 3 weeks' notice.
I'll kill that bloody woman. Barney, come away from those chickens.
Oh, Petra. Hello? Hello, Claire Steffing. Oh, good morning, Petra. Is it still morning? Just about. This afternoon? But I thought we were going to do the hall curtains this evening. Isn't that what was agreed at committee? Oh, I see. But Joan's coming round this afternoon. Well, I dare say I could put her off, if it suits you better. No, not that early. I haven't even started thinking about lunch yet. No, I am not halfway through a gin and tonic. All right, 3 o'clock. Hang on, I'll write that down. Later. No, I will not forget. I shall see you at the hall at 3 o'clock.
Really? Really? Oh, poor Hubert. Yes, I'll tell her, Vicky. Thanks for letting us know. Bye. Oh, Viv, there you are. I've just had some news about Petra Littleton.
Oh, what has she been up to now?
No, don't say that, dear. She's had an accident. Serious by the sound of it.
What, in her car?
No, Vicky Johnson just rang. Apparently there's a police car and an ambulance outside the village hall. She did just wander past and Hubert said it was Petra, but she didn't like to be too inquisitive.
Well, I know you and I have never liked her very much. Well, I hope she'll be all right. Thank you.
Oh, see whose phone call I missed. Oh, it's Fiona. Hello, Fiona. I'm sorry I missed you. I was at the shop. I'm afraid the rumours about Petra are true. Yes, she's dead. Difficult to believe, isn't it? She was such a force of nature. Some sort of accident on the stage, I believe. Poor Hubert was out in the car outside waiting for her. And when she didn't show, he went to look for her, but he couldn't get in. He had to go over to Claire's for the key. Oh, yes. Yeah, a terrible shock for him. He was devoted to her. Although she treated him like a doormat. But whatever could have happened?
No, I don't know, no more than anyone else. Police won't let anyone near. They've got this stripy tape everywhere. Yeah, don't look good. No, you're right there. There's not going to be many people crying any tears over that woman, I can tell you that.
Hello, Mr. Littleton. It's Vivian here from the vicarage. May I say how very, very sorry I was to hear of your wife's death. It must have come as such a shock to you.
Yes. Yes, it was. Well, it is. Haven't really come to terms with it yet. Won't for a while, I'm sure. Thank you, that's very kind of you. Well, I just wanted to say that, well, I know that we weren't great supporters of the church, but we did come at Christmas and Easter. But we would... Well, I mean, I'm sure Petra would have liked a church funeral. I don't suppose it can be in the church. The builders are still in, aren't they? Anyway, the village hall. If you can have a funeral in a village hall...
Now, don't you worry. Yes, they are behind with the church restoration. They keep saying 1 more month, but you know builders. But I'm quite sure that our temporary licence does cover funerals. Or if not, I shall sort it out with the Archdeacon myself. Or you could have the service over at Pentalac, of course. Do you have any idea of a date yet?
No, not Pentalac. I'd prefer it to be local. And the village hall would be quite appropriate, considering how much time and effort Petra put in there over the years. I think she'd like that. But as to date, I can't really say. The police won't release her body, you see. No, they think it was deliberate, I'm afraid. Yes, you know that big box that the Short Map Bowls Club keep their sets of bowls in? Well, that had been put up on end, on the big table, in the wings by the stage. On end, yes. The box wasn't locked, you see. Well, I'm on the Bowls Club committee, and we say it ought to be locked, but people don't, so anyone could have taken the bags of bowls out, put it up on end, and then put them back. The thing is, the police say there was a door wedge underneath, so it was so finely balanced that if Petra went over and just touched the box, it would fall on her with the weight of the bowls and the box's sharp corners, so she didn't stand a chance. And I was just outside in the car, listening to Classic FM while she was in there, dying. She said she'd be here only half an hour, so I didn't go to investigate till after 40 minutes. Well, I could see her through the window lying on the stage, but that door locks automatically. I couldn't get in. I'm sorry, I'll have to call it back.
Who was that?
Hubert Littleton. About Petra's funeral.
That'll be a challenge for you, trying to say something nice about that woman.
He told me how she died. The bowls box toppled over on top of her.
Crushed to death by bowling balls. That's a nasty way to go.
And the police don't think it was an accident. Naomi, they think it was murder.
Murder? Well, I'm not that surprised. I can think of any number of people who would like to murder Petra.
Oh, Naomi, don't say that. Where's the new hall key?
On the kitchen hook.
Are you sure?
Oh, yes, just 10 minutes ago.
Well, thank heavens for that.
What's the matter?
Well, don't you see? The locks on the hall doors were changed not 2 weeks ago. The only person who could have managed to get in to set that trap in the first place would have been someone who'd been able to get hold of one of the new keys.
One thing I have heard, according to Sandra's nephew's brother-in-law, Paul, is that there were no fingerprints on the box. No, none at all. Because everything had been deep cleaned and sanitised at the hall in the summer. And no one's had any reason to touch that box since. So that means whoever set that box up on end must have worn gloves. I suppose that is a good thing in one way. It does prove it was deliberate and not some terrible freak accident. So the police will have to take it seriously. Though I don't know quite what resources they can put in at the moment. But it also means that there's no direct evidence and no obvious suspects. Joan said I ought to investigate the case myself after all the murder mysteries I've done over the years.
Oh, no. You don't want to do that. Oh, leave it to the professionals. Don't touch it. Well, yes. Well, maybe.
Well, after all, I do know everybody in the village, just about. And I'd have some sort of standing being on the hall committee. I'm not saying I'd get anywhere.
Well, that's true. Perhaps you ought to look into it, Danny. Oh, and I could help, couldn't I? Keep in contact with suggestions. Oh, yes, why not?
Hello, Claire. I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm a bit confused about what actually happened last Tuesday. Yeah, that's awful, truly awful. But what I'm querying is that at the hall committee meeting, you and Petra said that you'd changed the hall curtains that evening. But apparently she was there on her own.
Yes, she was. Now, what happened, you see, is Petra decided the evening was no good because of winter watch. Anywho, so we went in the afternoon instead. Well, it didn't suit me, and I am chair after all. But you know what Petra was like. Anyway, she had to leave by 5. She had a Zoom call. But we still had one pair of curtains left to hang, and I couldn't do them by myself, as I'm no good up ladders. So she said she'd pop back around 7, finish them off. Well, no, I didn't notice the box of bowls particularly. But the stage curtains were wide open, so we would have noticed. If it hadn't been lying down in its usual corner, I mean.
Thanks, Claire. So that means that the only time when the box could have been set up on end would have been between 5 when you left and 7 when Petra arrived back. That's useful to know. Now, it's obvious that only somebody with a new hall key could have got in. So how many people had one?
Oh, well, I don't know. Well, it's so hard at the moment, what with this wretched virus. So many people aren't using the hall who normally would. How many did we order? Well, 6 for the main hirers, I know that. 2 for the one-offs. 1 for me as chair, 1 for Petra, of course. 1 for Jean to do the cleaning. And how many's that?
11.
Well, no, that doesn't sound right. No, it was 12. I remember now. It's on the invoice. You could check with Anthony. But who was the 12th one for? Sheila. Of course, one for emergencies. Because she only lives round the corner and she never goes out.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you, Claire. So, now, can you work out how many were actually issued? Yes, the drama group. I know, I'm the secretary. I have that one. No, don't worry. Who else? You and Petra, of course, yes. Jean didn't because she was furloughed. Sheila?
Well, maybe. Well, no, because Hubert tried there first. She only had old ones. Well, no, because none of the other hirers are taking up their bookings. Hang on. Oh, what it'll do to the whole income, I shudder to think. Well, no, we haven't had any in the last 2 weeks. Well, the church. Well, aren't they meeting in the reading room? No, come to think of it, I believe you're right.
So, as far as my investigations go, the only people who could have done it would have been 1. Petra herself.
Well, hardly.
2. Me. Well, I know I didn't do it. 3. Claire herself.
Just possibly.
Well, I can imagine her wanting to. After all, Petra treated her like a dog's body for years. But I can't imagine her formulating a plan and actually carrying it through successfully. Or heaving those great bags of bowls around, for that matter. Or 4. The vicar.
Oh dear. So, just 3 suspects and all of them impossible. Hey, but of course, the obvious person, although I wouldn't say this to anyone except you, would be Denzel. After all the rows they've had about his dogs. Oh, and he's under notice to quit the caravan.
Didn't know that.
Oh, yes. Debbie told me. I know Denzel's very angry about that.
Oh, and there's a lot of aggression there. I've seen him at the rugby matches. But surely he'd be the last person Petra would lend a whole key to. I suppose I'd better ask him where he was between 5 and 7. Oh, and Claire. And Vivian. Oh, dear.
Danny, it sounds as though you're asking me for my alibi. No, it's all right. Don't apologise. Tuesday evening. Choir practice. I was over at Pentalloch for choir practice. They're very short of altos. Practice is 5:30 to 6:30, socially distanced, of course. But I remember I went early because I needed to speak to Martin about the hymns, so I probably left here soon after 5. Yes, I took the car. I could have cycled, but I tend not to this time of year. And I left fairly promptly afterwards, I think. I'm not sure what time I got home. Perhaps Naomi might remember. The whole key? No, we keep that in the kitchen, and I can assure you that no one has been in there since our computer chat, and that was 10 days ago. Yes, 10 whole days.
Hello? Hello? But I left the hall at 5. I told you that. Oh, I see. So you think I could have sneaked back afterwards to set up the booby trap? Oh, well, really, Danny? I think you might know me better than that. I mean, I'm well aware Petra was annoying. But if I went around bumping everyone off in this village I thought was annoying, then the population would be considerably smaller. Oh, all right. I don't know who appointed you the great detective. What was I doing? Well, I wasn't cooking. No. Because earlier on I put a casserole in the slow cooker. So I didn't know what time we'd finished messing about with these jolly old curtains. I mean, why Petra wanted to change the curtains in the present climate, heaven only knows. I know! John and I were watching Midsummer Murders on the TV. Oh, murder. Oh, how funny. It's only just struck me. Anyway, that I finished at 7, or maybe just before because of the adverts. Anyway, I served up dinner. John can vouch for me. I mean, I think he might have dozed off at one point. Well, I'm pretty sure he would have noticed if I'd left the house for any length of time. Actually, I do mind. Well, anyway, at least I know what my alibi would be in case the police come a-calling.
Well, I don't know what business it is of yours, Danny, but if you want to know, I was up at a rugby match all afternoon. No, I wasn't playing, but I used to coach, so I like to support. Home fixture, yeah, that's right. Kick off at 5:30, but I was there well before then. Plenty of people saw me. Not there was a big crowd, and no, but all our lot said hello, and the Penzance lot all know me, by sight at least. Well, of course I stayed to the end. Funny sort of supporter I'd be if I hadn't.
So, there you are, Fiona. They've all got alibis.
Although none of them are what you might call watertight. Claire was watching TV with John, but she admits he dozed off, and she could have crept out for 10 minutes or so.
He would have been none the wiser.
Same goes for Denzel, really. I'm sure there are witnesses who say that they saw him at the beginning of the game, at the half-time and at the end, but once the action was on, nobody would have been watching.
No one could swear that Denzel didn't slope off for a while.
And the field's not that far from the hall if you go round the back way.
What about...
Fiona!
You've muted yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
I was asking, what about Vivian's alibi?
Well, Vivian said that she left Pentalic at about 6:30.
Yeah, but she was a bit vague about when she arrived back. Naomi says...
Sorry, you froze there for a moment. What did Naomi say?
that Vivian didn't arrive back until 7.
But that's only a 10-minute drive. Oh, yes, that's a bit suspicious. Still, I've no need to ask about your alibi. You were at the charity do at the Johnsons' barn, same as me. We got there, About 4, because of unloading in daylight and switching on the heaters. And then we must have left after we packed up. About 7:20.
Yes.
But even I'm not in the clear. You know what it's like at a bazaar, people coming and going at the stalls.
Theoretically, I could have gone to the house to use the bathroom and then nipped out of the front door, and their place is only just round the corner from the hall. I didn't really have a motive, of course, because after all, Petra failed to take over the drama group, but...
Nobody could say I didn't have the opportunity.
No. And I've thought of someone else. The church's hall key was at the vicarage, so why couldn't Naomi have borrowed it, gone down to the hall whilst Viv was out? It's a bit of a trek, but if she took the bicycle...
Whatever would Naomi...
Oh, but Petra was always very snippy about those two, wasn't she? She never used the word lesbian, but you knew what she meant, and not in a nice way.
Oh, dear.
I suppose Petra was the intended victim. After all, as far as anyone else knew, Petra and Claire would be at the hall that evening.
But who'd want to kill Claire? She's so ineffectual.
Yeah. If she'd seen the box up on end, she'd have said, "Oh, that looks odd." Petra would have been the one to march up and
investigate. No, I'm just being silly.
And another thing. Oh, you've frozen again. Oh, there you are. I was wondering, perhaps it's a mistake to focus so much on the keys to the main door. Well, why not the windows and the fire exits?
Oh, no, those windows don't open more than a few inches. No one over the age of 7 could squeeze through. And the fire exits are exits. You can't get in from the outside. Although I'm sure Hubert tried to before he dashed off to Sheila's.
Oh, another thing I've thought of. What about all the keys that weren't actually issued?
Oh, yes. I better check up on those.
Oh, this blasted thing! Hello, Claire Steffink. Oh, hello, Danny. Still hot on the trail? The other keys? Oh, but Petra had those. I thought I told you that already. Maybe I didn't. Anywho, they'll be in her little wall safe. You know, the one in the living room behind the watercolour of Newlyn Harbour. Oh, perhaps I shouldn't have just told you that. I'm not very safety conscious, I'm afraid. But Petra was. If she said she'd put them in the safe, she'd have put them in the safe.
Hello? Oh, hi, Danny. Do I mind? Well, I'm not sure, to be honest. Must say I'm not very keen in having my wife's death used as some sort of socially distanced murder mystery. But then on the other hand, anything that gets the guilty party caught. Yes, I did try the fire exit. When I saw Petra lying there, I was frantic to get in, but the doors were shut tight. Well, actually, I'm ahead of you there. I was looking through Petra's papers, and I found the combination to the wall safe. Oh, no, she never told me. She liked to be the boss. Yeah, you know that. Anyway, I thought Claire said that only 4 of the keys had been issued, so there should be 8 still in the wall safe. Am I right? Well, there aren't. There are only 7. Only 7.
Do you know what they're saying? Do you know what they're saying now?
Probably not. No, you're always much more up to date with village gossip than I am.
Not gossip, Viv.
Sorry. Current local news items.
Well, the current local news item is that apparently, whilst you were at choir, I apparently cycled down to the hall, having borrowed your bike, and set up that awful trap for Petra, and then lied to throw suspicion on you.
But why would you?
Goodness knows. I'm not that unhinged.
Naomi, you're the sanest woman I know. What I mean is, why then? Did you know that Petra was going to be in the hall that evening, hanging curtains?
No, of course not.
No, neither did I, and yet I, apparently, set the trap during that suspicious half-hour it took me to drive home from Pentalloch.
Oh, you can't have. We'll have to think about that.
Yes. I think I'll give Danny a ring and tell her that we knew nothing whatsoever about the curtains or that Petra was going to be in the hall that evening. You can't prove it, of course. You can't prove a negative. But I think she'll take my point. She's not that unhinged.
Unlike that Fiona.
Now, that was a long time ago.
No, I mustn't be that uncharitable.
So, there's an extra key out there, and the only person who could have told us who it was issued to would have been Petra herself. I'll have to get onto the track of that. Oh, and I've just realised, while we were at the Johnson's Bazaar, I left the drama group's hall key in the pocket of my outdoor coat, hanging in the corner of the barn. Anybody could have borrowed that if they'd thought to look. Oh dear. I'm wondering if I'm concentrating too much on opportunity, and it isn't a blind alley. Ought I to be looking more at motive?
But as to that, I've been thinking, and I know this is a terrible thing to say.
Well, don't say it then.
That's all very well for you, but you started us down this path, you know you did. I'm quite happy to leave it to the police if you are.
No. We've gone too far for that.
Well then, what about Hubert himself?
Well, that's hardly likely.
Of course it's not likely. No one's likely to have killed the wretched woman, but somebody did. And she led Hubert the dog's life, you can't deny it.
But doesn't he have an alibi?
No. You have it in your notes that Hubert was at home with Petra between 5 and 7 having a meal. But Petra had a Zoom meeting at 5 o'clock. So what's to have stopped Hubert from driving down to the hall and setting up the trap after she told him that she was going back there on her own later?
She might not even have noticed him go. And even if she did, he could say he'd just been down to the post office for some stamps or something. Yes. It's possible. It might be the case of the worm that turned. And don't forget, he's a member of the Bowls Club. He'd know just how heavy those balls were. Oh, but he didn't have a key.
So he says. But there were plenty of spare ones in the safe, and we have only his word that he didn't know the combination. After all, he knows it now, so why not earlier?
Is that the Chief Constable? Yes, Danny Garrick, it's you I mean. Now, I know you've got me on your list as number one suspect, because I cycled down the hill, set that awful trap for Petra, and lied about the time Viv got in to throw you off the scent. Never mind what you said, or who you said it to, that's what's going round. Anyway, I told you Viv got in at 7, but we've worked it out now. It wasn't the 7 o'clock news, but the 6:30 news starting late because of the football. Ring ITV to check if you like. All right, never mind apologies. Anyway, I've got some news for you. I bumped into Richard Hitchens in the shop the other day. Well, not literally, 2 metres apart with masks of course, and he said the rugby club have got a key. Yes, a new one. They borrowed it off Petra last week to measure up the hall to see if it was big enough for their AGM. But they didn't use it. They passed it on to Denzel Tresloggett. Yes, oh. So I don't think I'm number one suspect anymore, am I?
Oh, hello, Danny. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, a lot happier since that Petra's dead and gone. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not confessing to nothing, but Hubert says I can stay on in the caravan as long as I like. He don't mind the dogs. Yeah, well, I was afraid I'd have to go back up country and... When your name's Denzel Tresloggett, you don't really fit in anywhere except Cornwall, do you? Anyway, what can I do for you? Yes, I do have a key to the village hall, as it happens. Because you didn't ask me. You said, where was I between 5 and 7? And I told you. If I'd had 10 village hall keys in my pocket, I couldn't have been down there piling up bowling balls whilst I was up at the field watching the rugby match, now could I? Oh, yes, I suppose I could have slipped away for 10, 15 minutes without a soul noticing, except I was stood next to Tracy Bargus the whole time. Because you didn't ask. You said, where was I? You didn't ask for a list of witnesses. Anyway, Tracy will bear me out, no worries. I must say I thought Petra was a obnoxious bitch, and I'm glad she's gone. Except for poor Hubert's sake, he's right cut up. But I'd never have killed her. Have some sense, mate, do.
Good afternoon, Fiona. Doing? Just sitting staring at my notes. Giving up? Well, I have felt like it. In fact, I'm feeling like it at the moment, but I do have a theory. You see, all the motives, well, nearly all, were long-standing ones. My run-ins with Petra over the drama group went back years. She'd had her knife into Viv and Naomi ever since they came. Hubert and Claire had been her doormats for years. There was nothing there to account for a sudden murderous attack. The only people with a new and urgent motive were Denzel, because of the notice to quit, and you, Fiona, because Petra wanted to take the community choir away from you. And Denzel has a clear alibi. Tracy swears they were standing together all through the game.
But I didn't kill her. I couldn't have. I didn't have a key. Yes, I thought she was an odious woman, always putting people's backs up. Nobody liked her. She ruined this village. Oh, the number of times I've sat in meetings longing to tell her what I thought of her. I hated her. She deserved to die. But I didn't kill her. I couldn't have. I didn't have a key.
But mine was in the coat pocket at the Johnsons', wasn't it? I said before that anyone could have borrowed it, but that's nonsense. It could only have been someone who knew that Petra was supposed to be at the hall that evening. So, probably a member of the hall committee. And someone who knew that I always kept the hall key in the inside pocket of my coat. So almost certainly a member of the drama group. There wouldn't be any risk in borrowing or returning the key. If seen, whoever it was could always say that they were fetching a tissue or something from their own coat. They used gloves in the hall, we know that. But they wouldn't have worn gloves at the Johnsons'. That would have looked very odd. There'll be fingerprints on that key. Petra's, mine, and the murderer's. Even a partial print would be enough. I did wonder, you see, why you were so against me investigating this at first, and then so eager to help. Were you trying to muddy the waters? Naomi was your suspect, and Hubert, but they were just red herrings. And the only person at the Johnsons who was both on the hall committee and a member of the drama group, apart from me, was you.
Look, you're mad. You're wrong. Look, let me come over. I can persuade you. I can show you. It was somebody else. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't.
No, don't come round, Fiona. I won't let you in. It's too late anyway. I gave that key to the police over half an hour ago, and I told them whose fingerprints to check.